Jessica Alba and Danny Ramirez are making their red carpet debut. The pair are all smiles as they pose with friends at the Mill Valley Film Festival October 3rd. This red carpet outing for the couple, who've reportedly been dating since May, comes less than a year after Jessica filed for divorce from husband Cash Warren.
Jessica Alba just dropped a bombshell on the red carpet, and fans can't stop talking about it. Walking hand in hand with Danny Ramirez, she made her new relationship official just months after her divorce from Cash Warren. But what really happened behind the scenes? From secret dates to bold public appearances, this love story isn't as simple as it looks. Let's dive into the drama, the passion, and the future of Hollywood's newest couple. When Jessica Alba walked onto the red carpet at the Mill Valley Film Festival, nobody was prepared for the surprise she had in store. Cameras flashed, reporters gasped, and fans immediately pulled out their phones to capture the moment. By her side was Danny Ramirez, the young Hollywood actor best known for his breakout roles and undeniable charisma. The smiles, the laughter, the easy chemistry between them, this wasn't just two stars attending an event. This was Jessica Alba making a statement, loud and clear. Her old chapter was over, and a brand new story had officially begun. For years, Jessica was the poster child for Hollywood's golden marriages. She and Cash Warren had been together for nearly 2 decades, raising kids, building businesses, and presenting themselves as one of the most grounded couples in the entertainment industry. Fans admired them. Media held them up as an example of love that could survive the chaos of fame. But Hollywood, as we all know, has a way of rewriting even the most perfect stories. When Jessica filed for divorce earlier this year, the world was stunned. She posted her words carefully, speaking of growth, self-realization, and transformation. She said she and Cash had spent years evolving together, but it was now time for them to evolve apart. It was mature, graceful, even poetic. But behind the polished Instagram post lay whispers of something bigger, of long nights, quiet arguments, and a marriage slowly unraveling behind closed doors. 17 years is not something you walk away from easily. And yet, Jessica did, proving that even Hollywood's most stable relationships can reach their breaking point. So when Jessica appeared on the red carpet, hand in hand with Danny, the message couldn't have been clearer. This wasn't just a date. This wasn't just a casual appearance. This was her stepping into the spotlight again, not as a wife of nearly 20 years, but as a woman ready to embrace something new. And Danny Ramirez wasn't just anyone. He represented a new beginning, a breath of fresh air, a man from a different world stepping boldly into hers. The cameras loved them. Their smiles told a story without words. And yet, behind the glamour, the headlines began to write themselves. Jessica Alba's divorce, Danny Ramirez's sudden rise, the age difference, the timing, the ex-husband's reaction, every angle was dissected within hours. Social media buzzed with questions. Was this love real? Was it a rebound? Or was it the first public step of a romance that had been brewing in private for months? And make no mistake, this wasn't a random pairing. Reports suggest Jessica and Danny had been seeing each other quietly since May. Secret dinners, casual sightings, whispers in the industry, all of it leading up to this very moment, their big debut in front of the flashing lights. If it was a strategy, it was brilliant. If it was spontaneous, it was even more powerful. Because Hollywood thrives on surprise, and Jessica just delivered one of the biggest surprises of the year. The symbolism of that night cannot be ignored. Jessica wasn't just debuting a new man, she was debuting a new identity. For years, she was tied to her brand, her company, her marriage, her role as a mother. But on that carpet, with Danny by her side, she reminded the world that she is also still Jessica Alba, the star, the icon, the woman who can command attention with a single appearance. And Danny, with his rising career and magnetic presence, looked every bit like the partner who belonged by her side. Fans cheered, critics speculated, the industry buzzed. And as Jessica and Danny posed, smiled, and radiated confidence, one thing became clear. This was not the end of a love story. This was the beginning of something brand new. And if the red carpet was just the first chapter, then what comes next promises to be even more dramatic, even more unpredictable, and absolutely unmissable. For many fans, seeing Jessica Alba with Danny Ramirez sparked one immediate question. Who exactly is this man who has captured the heart of one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars? Because while Jessica's name has been in headlines for over 2 decades, Danny Ramirez is only just beginning to leave his mark on the industry. And yet, in such a short time, he's managed to build a reputation that has made him one of Hollywood's most talked about rising actors. Danny's journey is nothing short of remarkable. Born in Chicago and raised in Miami, he was not born into the luxury of Hollywood privilege. Instead, he carved his own path through sheer determination and talent. His early years were spent juggling auditions, small roles, and the uncertainty that comes with chasing the Hollywood dream. But his drive was relentless, and soon that persistence began to pay off. Audiences first started to take notice of him with appearances on popular shows, where he displayed a mix of charm, intensity, and vulnerability that made casting directors pay attention. But it was his role in Top Gun: Maverick that catapulted him into the spotlight. Acting alongside heavyweights like Tom Cruise, Danny didn't just hold his own, he stood out. His performance turned heads, his confidence demanded respect, and suddenly the world wanted to know more about him. From that moment on, Danny was no longer just another actor trying to break in. He became a name to watch, a rising star with the kind of potential that Hollywood obsesses over. And that's part of what makes his connection to Jessica Alba so fascinating. She represents an established legacy, an actor, businesswoman, and cultural icon who has already left her mark on the industry. He represents the new generation, hungry, ambitious, and still writing his story. Together, they are a blend of Hollywood past and Hollywood future, colliding in the most unexpected way. But beyond his career, Danny carries an energy that is magnetic. Fans describe him as charismatic, grounded, and refreshingly authentic in an industry often accused of being shallow. He has a way of capturing attention without trying too hard, of making people lean in when he speaks. It's that kind of presence that makes sense next to Jessica. She has always been admired for her elegance, her grace, and her strength, but now she has someone who matches her charisma step for step. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. Some critics whisper about the age difference, pointing out that Jessica and Danny come from very different stages of life. She is a mother of 3, a seasoned professional who has navigated Hollywood politics for decades. He is still at the beginning of his climb, experimenting with roles, exploring his career, and defining his place in the industry. For some, that contrast raises questions. Can such different worlds truly merge? Or is this just a passionate moment destined to fade away when reality hits? Yet, when they walked that red carpet together, none of those doubts seemed to matter. The body language spoke volumes. Jessica looked radiant, Danny confident, and the chemistry between them undeniable. They weren't just attending an event, they were claiming a place together in the Hollywood spotlight. And for Danny, it was the kind of introduction that most rising stars could only dream of. In one night, he went from being a name recognized by movie buffs to being the man making headlines alongside Jessica Alba. That's the power of Hollywood. It can change your story in an instant. For Danny, the red carpet wasn't just a debut. It was a turning point, the moment he officially became part of a narrative much larger than himself. And as the cameras captured his smile, as Jessica stood proudly by his side, the world began to realize this is not just another actor dating a celebrity. This is a man who may very well be stepping into a new role, not on screen, but in Jessica Alba's real-life story. And with that, fans can't help but wonder, how did Jessica and Danny's paths cross in the first place? Was this a sudden spark after her divorce, or something that had been brewing long before? The rumors, the secrets, the whispers behind closed doors, it's all part of the puzzle. And that puzzle is exactly what makes the next chapter of their story even more intriguing. Before we can truly understand why Jessica Alba's red carpet debut with Danny Ramirez shook Hollywood, we have to look back at the chapter that came before. Because Jessica's love story has never been ordinary. It has been filled with passion, loyalty, heartbreak, and the kind of twists only real life can deliver. Jessica Alba's relationship with Cash Warren began like a classic Hollywood romance. They met in 2004 on the set of Fantastic Four, where Jessica was already a rising superstar and Cash was working as a production assistant. At first, their relationship seemed improbable. She was on the brink of global stardom. He was working behind the scenes. But love has its own way of writing stories, and theirs quickly became one that captured attention. By 2008, the couple was married, and over the years, they welcomed 3 children into their lives. To fans, Jessica and Cash became a symbol of stability in an industry notorious for short-lived marriages. While other celebrity couples made headlines for messy breakups, cheating scandals, and public meltdowns, Jessica and Cash seemed steady, grounded, and even private in a way that felt refreshing. She spoke often about how much she valued their partnership, how Cash was her anchor, and how their family was her greatest accomplishment. But as with so many Hollywood love stories, the surface never tells the whole truth. Behind the smiles and public appearances, cracks were beginning to show. Marriage is hard work for anyone, but in Hollywood, the challenges are magnified. Endless travel, packed schedules, and constant public scrutiny can erode even the strongest bonds. For Jessica, the added pressure of running her business empire, The Honest Company, meant her plate was overflowing. For Cash, life as a producer came with its own demands. Slowly, quietly, the distance began to grow. When Jessica announced in early 2025 that she and Cash were ending their marriage, fans were stunned. 17 years together is nearly unheard of in Hollywood, and they had survived far longer than most. In her statement, Jessica chose her words carefully. She spoke of self-realization, of transformation, of evolving both as a partner and as an individual. She said she was proud of the marriage they had built, but it was time to embark on a new chapter of growth separately. It was mature, respectful, even poetic, but it was still the end of a love story that had defined nearly half of her life. Fans speculated about the reasons. Was it distance? Was it career? Was it simply time? And then came the real twist. Cash himself seemed to have already moved on. In August, just months after the divorce, he was spotted with a 21-year-old model, Hannah Sumner. Paparazzi caught them on several dates, and suddenly the narrative shifted. Jessica wasn't the only one stepping into a new chapter. Cash was too, and in a very different way. This is what made Jessica's red carpet debut with Danny Ramirez even more powerful. Because while Cash's new romance looked like the stereotypical Hollywood rebound, a much younger model, paparazzi photos, and whispered criticism, Jessica's new chapter had a completely different tone. She wasn't hiding in secrecy. She wasn't clinging to youth. She was stepping forward with confidence, choosing a partner who not only matched her energy, but also brought fresh excitement into her world. For nearly 20 years, Jessica Alba was part of a love story that seemed solid, even unshakable. But as her marriage quietly unraveled, she showed the world that endings don't always mean failure. They can mean transformation. And when she stepped onto that red carpet with Danny, it wasn't just about flaunting a new man. It was about showing the world that she had turned the page, that she was ready to embrace life in a new form. The divorce may have closed one chapter, but it opened the door to a brand new narrative, one that is just beginning to unfold. And while Jessica's marriage with Cash will always be a part of her story, the excitement, the curiosity, and yes, the drama are now all centered on her and Danny Ramirez. Because Hollywood doesn't just watch, it obsesses. And this is a couple everyone is suddenly obsessed with. Long before Jessica Alba and Danny Ramirez posed together at the Mill Valley Film Festival, whispers were already floating through Hollywood. Paparazzi lenses are sharp, gossip blogs are relentless, and whenever two stars are spotted in the same place more than once, the speculation machine goes into overdrive. The first sparks of rumor appeared back in May, when insiders claimed Jessica had been quietly dating someone new. At first, the name wasn't clear. Some outlets hesitated, others only hinted. But then, tiny breadcrumbs started dropping. Jessica was seen at a private dinner in Los Angeles, and just days later, Danny Ramirez's name mysteriously appeared in the same reports. Coincidence? Fans didn't think so. For weeks, the sightings piled up. A casual coffee run, a late-night exit from the same party, and the most telling moment, Jessica and Danny reportedly seen together, smiling, laughing, leaning into each other in a way that screamed more than friendship. Yet neither of them confirmed anything. No Instagram posts, no hand-holding on camera, no carefully curated couple selfies. Instead, silence. And in Hollywood, silence can often louder than words. The secrecy only fueled the frenzy. Entertainment blogs ran wild with headlines. Is Jessica Alba moving on? Who is Danny Ramirez, and why is Jessica smiling so much? Fans on Twitter and TikTok dissected every blurry paparazzi shot, looking for clues. Was Jessica's hand brushing against Danny's arm? Was his jacket draped over her chair? Every detail became part of the narrative. Of course, part of the drama came from timing. Jessica's divorce from Cash Warren was still fresh, and Hollywood loves nothing more than a new romance after heartbreak storyline. People wanted to know, was Danny the rebound, or was this the real deal? Was Jessica looking for comfort after nearly 2 decades of marriage, or had she genuinely found a new connection worth flaunting? Meanwhile, Danny's name kept popping up in unexpected ways. His Top Gun Maverick fame meant his star power was rising fast, and the idea of him linking up with a Hollywood legend like Jessica Alba was simply irresistible. Industry insiders started whispering about how this relationship could reshape his image. Was he stepping into the spotlight because of his talent or because of Jessica? Was he about to become known not just as Danny Ramirez, the actor, but as Jessica Alba's new man? As the summer wore on, the sightings became harder to ignore. At one point, the two were allegedly seen in Santa Barbara, enjoying what looked suspiciously like a romantic getaway. Eyewitnesses described the vibe as intimate and undeniable. Still, no confirmations came from either side. And in Hollywood, when the silence stretches too long, it only builds more suspense. By the time October rolled around, the anticipation had reached a fever pitch. Fans weren't just curious, they were desperate. Every entertainment outlet was waiting for the moment Jessica would stop hiding and step forward. And when the Mill Valley Film Festival red carpet arrived, that's exactly what happened. Jessica and Danny didn't just walk separately and happen to be at the same event. They posed together. They smiled together. They looked every bit the couple that everyone had been guessing about for months. The debut wasn't just about romance. It was about control. Jessica and Danny had let the rumors swirl, had let the world build its own narrative, and then at the perfect moment, they owned it. They didn't deny, they didn't explain, they simply appeared, and that single appearance was enough to set social media on fire. Because in Hollywood, sometimes silence is the best marketing strategy, and Jessica and Danny had played the game to perfection. But what happens after the debut? That's the question fans are asking now. Was this a one-night spectacle to shut down rumors, or the beginning of a love story that will play out in front of millions? The red carpet gave us answers, yes, but it also left us with even bigger questions. And those questions are exactly what makes this story so addictive. When October 3rd arrived, the Mill Valley Film Festival red carpet was expected to be glamorous, yes, but no one was prepared for the shockwave that Jessica Alba and Danny Ramirez were about to unleash. For weeks, the whispers had been growing louder. For months, fans speculated about a romance they couldn't quite prove. And then, in one single moment, the rumors became reality. Jessica and Danny stepped onto the tarpet together, not with hesitation, not sneaking in the shadows, but with undeniable confidence. Jessica, radiant in her sleek gown, glowed under the flashes of hundreds of cameras. Danny, sharp and effortless beside her, carried himself with the poise of someone who knew exactly what this moment meant. Together, they weren't just attending an event, they were making a statement. And that statement was clear. This is real. What made the debut even more powerful was the way they carried themselves. There was no staged awkwardness, no forced smiles. Their chemistry was natural, their laughter genuine, and their body language spoke louder than any press release ever could. Danny leaned into Jessica, Jessica's hand brushed his arm, and in every photo, their comfort with each other was undeniable. It wasn't just romance, it was ease, a quiet confidence that made them look less like two celebrities playing a part and more like two people who had found something worth celebrating. The cameras went wild, but so did social media. Within minutes, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok exploded with clips and photos. Fans dissected every detail. Jessica's smile, Danny's protective stance, even the way they seemed to forget the cameras existed when they leaned in to whisper to each other. For fans who had followed Jessica's journey through heartbreak, marriage, and transformation, this moment wasn't just surprising, it was deeply emotional. It was the image of a woman stepping into a new chapter and doing it with fire. But the reactions weren't limited to fans. Industry insiders had their eyes wide open. For Jessica, walking with Danny wasn't just about romance. It was about reintroducing herself to Hollywood. She wasn't just the mother of three, the business mogul, the actress with decades of experience. She was still glamorous, still relevant, still capable of setting the world on fire with a single appearance. And for Danny, this was the night his career trajectory tilted. He was no longer just the guy from Top Gun. He was now half of Hollywood's newest power couple. Not everyone was cheering, of course. The gossip blogs wasted no time pointing out the age difference, the timing after Jessica's divorce, and the comparisons between Danny and Jessica's ex, Cash Warren. Some called it a publicity stunt, others a rebound. But even the critics couldn't deny what was obvious in the photos. The chemistry was real. You can fake many things in Hollywood, but you can't fake that kind of ease, that kind of glow. And let's not forget Cash's response earlier that year when TMZ asked about Jessica's new man. "I'm happy for her," he had said. "I don't know him, but he seems like a good guy." On the red carpet, Jessica seemed to prove those words right. She didn't look weighed down by drama. She looked lighter, freer, as though a chapter had closed and another had just begun. The red carpet wasn't just a night of glitz and gowns, it was a transformation on full display. For Jessica Alba, it was about reclaiming her spotlight after a painful but graceful divorce. For Danny Ramirez, it was about stepping out of supporting roles and into the front page of Hollywood's cultural conversation. Together, they weren't just debuting as a couple, they were making history as the most unexpected yet magnetic pairing of the season. And as the flashbulbs faded and the couple walked hand in hand into the festival, one thing was certain: the world would not stop talking about this moment for a very long time. When the cameras dimmed and the red carpet rolled away, the story of Jessica Alba and Danny Ramirez didn't stop. It was only just beginning. If the red carpet was their announcement, the days that followed were proof of just how hungry the world was for this new chapter in their lives. Social media couldn't stop talking. TikTok edits of Jessica and Danny walking together went viral, some set to romantic music, others layered with captions like, "This is the glow of freedom," or "When you leave the past behind and step into something new." Fans commented on Jessica's radiance, saying she looked happier than she had in years. Others praised Danny, calling him the upgrade, the perfect match, and the man who puts the smile back on her face. But the excitement wasn't limited to fans. Hollywood insiders and entertainment outlets jumped on the story too. Headlines screamed across magazines and blogs. Jessica Alba's stunning new romance. Danny Ramirez becomes Hollywood's new it guy. And the red carpet debut that stole the spotlight. Overnight, Danny wasn't just a rising star. He was half of Hollywood's most buzzed-about couple. Of course, with that attention came the inevitable comparisons. Jessica and Cash had once been the symbol of long-lasting love in Hollywood. Now, fans debated the differences between her past and her present. Some praised her courage to move on with grace after nearly 2 decades of marriage. Others speculated about whether the speed of her new relationship was too fast. And still, others pointed out that Cash had already been spotted dating a 21-year-old model, making Jessica's new romance seem not only justified, but refreshingly mature by comparison. Meanwhile, Danny found himself in uncharted territory. Until now, he had been celebrated primarily for his talent. Now, every move he made with Jessica was under the microscope. What did he say to her on the carpet? Did he move in with her? Would they blend families? The questions swirled endlessly, and every paparazzi shot, every Instagram story, every cryptic caption only added fuel to the fire. But perhaps the most striking part of this aftermath was how Jessica herself carried it. For years, she had been known not just as an actress, but as a business mogul, a mother, a woman who balanced family and career with elegance. Now, she was showing a different side, a woman who wasn't afraid to live boldly, to take risks, and to love again. This wasn't the Jessica Alba of the 2000s, playing the Hollywood sweetheart. This was Jessica Alba 2.0, confident, mature, and unafraid of the spotlight. The question now is simple. What's next? Will Jessica and Danny become Hollywood's next power couple, gracing more red carpets, building a blended life, and maybe even collaborating professionally? Or will this be a fleeting chapter, the kind of passionate romance that burns brightly but briefly? Hollywood history is filled with both stories, the fairy tales and the heartbreaks. But what makes Jessica and Danny's story so captivating is that right now, no one knows which one it will be. And that uncertainty is exactly why the world can't look away. One thing is certain, their red carpet debut wasn't just a moment, it was a shift. It signaled that Jessica Alba is not just surviving after divorce, she's thriving. And it announced Danny Ramirez as more than a rising actor. He's now a central player in one of Hollywood's most talked about love stories. As they continue to step into the spotlight together, one question lingers in every headline, every post, every whispered conversation. Is this just another Hollywood fling? Or the beginning of a love story that could redefine what a second chance at happiness really looks like?